Yeah, that's clear. That's nice and clear.
Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Piano playing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm hoping that people might play along a bit if they can. I mean, not everybody can, but if they can, it'll be up on screen and actually play along with me is the idea.
Okay. Okay, everyone, welcome. We're just past the top of the hour here. Thanks for joining us. We're just trying to work out the technical stuff here because Chris has a lot he wants to share between his voice and the live piano and tracks. And so we just had some difficulty, as we often can on Zoom, to put it all together. So he's just finalizing his settings there in the background. And I think he's almost ready to go. But welcome to the Friday webinar. It's great to have you here. This session with Chris came out a few weeks ago when he was on, and some teachers were asking about an improv webinar. And so this is it. I've had a couple of cancellations more recently for the webinar. And so we were able to fit Chris in here today. Going forward, I think I'm going to promise one more webinar, but it won't be next Friday. Next Friday, we're leading into the long weekend. I know a lot of us are getting busy, both in the CC office and also as teachers running recitals and getting students ready for exams, et cetera. And we've just come out of a busy festival season. So I promise one more webinar either on Friday, May 24 or 31. And I'll hit your inbox in a couple of weeks with information on that. But it'll most likely just be me. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about the upcoming Mosaics piano publication that we have that we're publishing and rolling out sometime in the summer, most likely early July. Now I want to give you more of a sneak peek about that, what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like. And so I hope you'll join me for that later, and I'll hit your inbox with that stuff. Thanks to everyone watching on the YouTube live stream right now, and those of you that are here live. We'll break after about an hour or so. Feel free to throw your questions in the chat box anytime, and we'll stop and answer those as we go. And then when we're done the webinar, we'll stop the YouTube recording, and then we'll just have a little private session with Chris for a little bit for those that want to ask questions outside of the recorded format. So Chris, thanks for joining us on Friday here today, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say about improvisation and how to get kids started with improv.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. I thought a little bit about what one might want to cover with improvisation, and what I've done is done a couple of sample ones, and Derek will probably have told you that we've actually done a little PDF for it, which if you've got access to it, you can follow along, but otherwise it's going to be fairly easy to follow on screen. I've taken a couple of pieces. I wrote an improvisation course for an Australian examination board, and I've still got the material, and they're quite sort of basic, if you like. One of them is a little bluesy piece, and the other's more of a kind of folky piece. And what my intention is, I think, is to go on with some of the material on the syllabus, particularly connections pieces, and do things thematically. In other words, talk about perhaps improvisation using the minor pentatonic scale, or improvisation using blues, you know, the usual things. But I've just got two examples today to play with, and I thought it might be quite interesting if you've got a piano in front of you as well as the screen, that you might like to kind of play along somewhat. So, I mean, it's just a thought. I'm going to share my screen now, and you'll be able to see the presentation, and you might even like to sort of chip in if anything occurs to you. Just put your sound and picture on and interrupt me if it comes to it. But here's my screen coming up. I'm just checking everything correctly. Yes, I think I am. Okay, so I'm calling this step-by-step improvisation. And the first thing is a piece called Cool Dude, you'll be pleased to hear. It just happens to be the name of the piece. And it's a piece using 3 chords. And the chords are all inversions, and they're C7, which you'll all know about, but first inversion, so there's an E in the bass, F7 third inversion, so there's an A in the bass, and G7 third inversion, where there's a B in the bass, but there's no root and no fifth. So that's what they look like. And I'm hoping you can hear this all right, but I'm going to play them on my piano. There's the C7, F7, and G7. So even this is slightly unusual because obviously they're unusual voicings of these chords, but they're typical jazz voicings. Also, when you're trying to improvise, it's a lot easier because you've got fewer notes to play. You're not playing full chords, but you're actually playing just the third and the seventh in this particular instance. So there's the three chords which we're going to use. And what I'd like you to do, of course, is play along, play those yourself. And I've actually said play each left-hand chord at your own speed. And in fact, it'd be quite fun. Derek, you can stop me if I'm going down a wild goose chase here, but is anybody who'd like to come on with their piano and play me those three chords with their picture and sound on?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone wants to join in, just feel free to use the raise your hand feature and I can take you off mute. Chris,
Yeah.
can we just test your piano one more time? You might have to play each chord twice before we hear it.
And there's one. Hear that?
It doesn't quite come through right away. Or do you have original sound enabled as on again?
Let me just have a check. You know. Actually, I'll have to stop sharing, I think, to do that, won't I?
Well, there might be a way under the more button. When you're sharing screen, can you see the toolbar?
Share computer sound. That's computer sound, of course.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Original sound. It should be in the top left corner of your screen, even when you're sharing, I believe.
Doesn't come up as an option here.
Oh, I wonder if we should.
Anyway, don't be too worried. What I'm saying is you can see them on screen and hopefully people can play. And in fact, that's why I thought it might be quite fun if anybody's prepared to actually just play these examples for me, see if their sound comes out better than mine does.
Yeah, so if anyone wants, just use the raise your hand feature if you want to come on and join us live and participate.
It's not always the case that people want to do that, of course, but I'm not too worried if that's the case. But that's what the chords look like. Anyway, you can see they're pretty easy. Here, Sue Gilmore has raised her hand.
Okay, Sue, you've got the floor there with your audio then. Just unmute yourself, make sure you have original sound on, and we should be able to hear. I'll just take her a second there to get set up.
I can't turn my original sound on. Can you hear this?
Yeah, that's coming through nicely, Sue.
And it's so tiny I can hardly see it. What is that?
E flat and A.
And then F sharp and B?
F natural and B.
You want me to do it again?
Sure. Yeah. Just
Okay.
so hear that and see it on the screen.
That was C7, F7, G7.
But first, I've suggested, which you've done obviously this, Sue, and other people as well, is play those three chords at your own speed, just as slow as you like. Now, the next thing is it features a right-hand riff, this particular piece, and I'll play it. It might come out, it might not. How's that, Derek?
Yeah, can you try that again? Yeah, we're just not hearing your audio from the piano at all now.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what that looks like. It's a catchy, short, repeated idea. And again, if anybody else wants to put their hand up and just play me that, it's quite fun to actually have a little bit of participation from the group, which gives us the sound which I don't seem to be getting here. Here we go, Kim.
Okay, Kim's coming on now.
This is very exciting. It's like a live seminar.
Did you hear that okay?
Yep. Did you try and play it?
You want me to play it with the chords?
Oh no, this is the right hand figure which you can see on the screen now.
All right.
Okay. Now what it should sound like is ya ya do do da, ya do do da. So it's very much a 12/8 kind of feel. Okay, and make sure that it stays. So it's all the time with a nice steady beat. Don't bother about the left hand with it, it's just the right hand. Okay, that's great. Excellent. So there's the right hand figure. Now, what I'm going to do, this will work, I know, is we're going to listen now to a whole track. So let's see, here it comes. Let's have a listen. So you're hearing that all right?
Mm-hmm.
So here comes the next screen then. After an 8-beat counting, play the left hand chords and the riff. Now, this we don't need to hear this from anybody, but basically what I'd like to do is try and do it, if you can, live with the track. But first of all, here's what it looks like. So we just uncover this slightly so you can see it. So there's the left hand chords playing at half notes, and then the riff, basically. And so the total effect comes out as two different components, if you like. And the chord symbols are written above the left-hand chords that you can see. So here's the track now, and either play it along or follow it along anyway, and you'll see how it works. There we go. The left-hand chords coming up. Tell, even for students, this is not too hard to play. The chords themselves, the left-hand chords, although they're unusual, they're easy enough to play. Just swinging down a half step there for the C7 to F7, and then moving up a step to the G7. And the riff itself is played on the backing, and is really nice to play as well. So this is a good little exercise just to get into the groove of this. It's a swung piece, and it's a little blues progression as well. So it's a good little improvisation process. It has this continual repeated riff, and it also has these simple chords underneath. So let's move to the next screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is, and I can demonstrate this really, I think, without necessarily you having to hear anything being done, is just to tap your foot with the track. Now, I've got what appears to be 18 participants, which includes Derek, I think. So what I'm saying is you could do this. I can't hear you do it, but I'll be doing it as well. Just with your foot, 1, 2, it's that kind of speed. Good. With the foot. So, now that's a good little exercise. When I do this with students, I've discovered that if students can't do that, that you have to try and address that first. The idea of keeping it a constant pulse with something like it feels like a bass drum of a drum kit with the track playing. And so it's starting to already give them a little thing which, if they haven't got used to it, they need to get used to it. Because when you're trying to improvise, you do need to have a strong sense in this style at least. There's a beat. With a pulse, if you like. And so doing that with your foot is a nice physical way of doing it. Now, here's the exciting bit. What I suggest you do next is that you don't just do the foot, but you actually clap on the third beat of the bar. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this like this. Boom, boom, boom. But the interesting thing is the foot does keep going. You're not going foot and clap, but you're going foot, clap, foot, foot. So that sounds fine. Then you try the track and suddenly it feels. Presume you're all really good. What's fun about doing is a seminar like this where I can't see you or hear you is I presume you're all great. And in fact, when I sometimes open it up and say, anybody like to tell me how to say well. But anyway, that's a good little exercise where you're tapping on 1 and 3 and you're clapping on 3. So your foot and your hand are together with the track. Again, it's getting into that kind of feel of the piece so that when you try to improvise, it's influenced by just the music playing, but also by that rock steady pulse, which is from your foot and your clapping. So the handout I've given you, by the way, has all this written down, so you can actually just sort of play around with this or try it with students. I think you'll find it works pretty fast and pretty easily. Now, rhythm patterns. When you improvise, you'll be making up your own rhythms. So here are some ideas to get you started. And here's the first thing I suggest is you actually, and I can demonstrate this in the room here without the piano, so hopefully you hear me. I'm going boom, put, 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 put. And by the way, what I'm doing is I'm going like that. It's definitely a clap, but the other one is a kind of, it's bouncing upwards. If you played on the piano, it would be a down movement and then a bouncing upward movement for the second note. So that's a good little pattern. I'm calling that pattern 1, which you can. So what students have done in the improvisation workshops I've done, they quite like it, is they make up a little rhythm pattern. Sometimes they find it easier to do that when playing on the piano. So this is one where I'm saying, can you clap your own pattern? I've given you a pattern here, but clap your own pattern. And then start to use notes. And what I suggest then is we actually use the left-hand chord E, B flat, and then the A flat, E flat, A. In other words, C7, F7, and you play that rhythm pattern with the right hand B flat C. So you're actually using that. Now, is anybody here again who can see this and could open their sound up so we can hear that played on one of your pianos? I'm being very bold here and seeing if there's anybody, if that's clear enough on screen and you can actually play it for me.
Sue, you still have your microphone on, or Kim, you're still in the queue as well there.
Oh, okay, I could do it. Or Marilyn can do it. Oh, sorry, she had a different question. Okay, I'll go ahead and play that little line.
That's good. Make sure that it really feels like 12/8. Yada. I almost call this what's called a shuffle, where we actually, it's a hard swing. So you're actually going yup, Eddie Best picnic kind of 12/8. Anyway, that was good. That's what it sounds like, everybody. And you can see that's not too hard to play. Taking rhythm pattern which you've clapped, and then using 2 notes and playing the same rhythm pattern on those notes. Let's go to the added excitement of the next page. Here's another pattern. Now, I'll do this for you first. Put, put, put. You can see that's not such a hard pattern to do, but it has a very different feel when you actually. Now, the notes I'm suggesting you do then are E flat F. So we've used B flat and C. Now we're using E flat and F. So again, if Sue's willing to be my guinea pig here.
Sure.
Would you like to play us this little thing that's written at the bottom here?
Okay.
Well, this first little stylistic things come up, which I've just realized. I would go yada and make the second note an up movement and shorter. Yada, not staccato, but second note. Yada, yada.
Like that?
Don't accent this. Make it a different up movement. You're floating off. Yada. That's it. Okay, and the left hand shouldn't suddenly get short.
It's because I'm sitting sideways.
That's fine, but these are kind of little coordination things out there, and the students find the same things as you're finding, and that is, it takes a little bit of getting used to. Anyway, that's pattern 2, and it's using 2 more notes. Now we've got pattern 3, and this looks a bit different. I'm going to do it. Foot, 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 foot. Okay, all the time. It's the same as the movement on the piano. Yaba. It's definitely drop and rise, if you like, on that pattern. So there's a third pattern, and now this is where it gets really exciting. Here's the third pattern using 2 other notes, middle C and G. So again, Sue, you're being wonderful here.
Okay. Let's see, it's all on the same left note changes. Whoops, sorry.
Oh, that's good. You're getting better and better, actually.
Oh.
Now, Anita, by the way, asked a question about first foot tapping them both together. Now, I think the thing I've found with students is that if you play the backing track and they just listen to it, and then they try something with just their foot, and they get used to the idea of feeling really relaxed with their foot, and then they do something where they're clapping, usually an offbeat as well, and then you start to add rhythms, but they're getting used to that idea of the track being part of the procedure throughout, if you like. So let's go on. Now, the right hand notes we've used so far, have you guessed, everybody, make up the C minor pentatonic scale. And here is the scale. And I've got such a wonderful assistant here. This is Sue I'm talking about. She's going to play us the C minor pentatonic scale as well.
I'm going to play it deeper, though.
Very expressive player, actually. She played it an octave lower, but it sounds like a pentatonic scale. In fact, that's another thing which students can do, is say to them, play it in any octave. You know, don't go too low or too high, but basically you don't have to play it in the middle of the piano if you don't want to. Because when you're improvising, sometimes it sounds really nice to actually start your improvisation higher. So that's a minor pentatonic scale. Now, I have told some of you about this before, but I've never forgotten when I was first trying to improvise. I was working with a very good guitar player. This is in New Zealand, 40 years ago. And I liked what he did a lot. And I said to him, "What's your secret?" And he put 2 fingers up and said, 2 secrets, minor pentatonic and major pentatonic. And he was like a rock guitarist. And I discovered talking to him that in fact the minor pentatonic scale kind of falls under your fingers on a guitar without really having to do it very much. It's a very sort of natural position, if you like, to play on guitar. And it's the basis of a lot of improvisation. So here's some improvisation ideas then, having gone through these little simple procedures. First of all, use the C minor pentatonic scale and play right-hand melodies using mainly quarter notes and half notes. By the way, I'm just going to try my piano again. Can you hear that at all, Derek?
Yeah, that's coming through quite nicely now.
Oh, that's interesting, because I might just try playing a bit of this. I'll see how far it goes. How was that?
In the middle, it kind of cuts out a bit, but we heard the beginning and the end. We could hear the whole thing. It's just in the middle, it's still kind of compressing.
You just think about the notion of singing. So that is a simple little tune which I've just made up and wrote down using initially just half notes and then a couple of quarter notes, and then using a bit of that kind of swung rhythm on the yadam and yadam. So that's rather nice. And I've done this with students. It works really well. You just say, using the C minor pentatonic scale, having done this little bit of preparation, just try some of these ideas out of your own. And there's no real rules about it, and you can play all long notes, you can play a mixture of notes and so on. So what happens next? Using the C minor pentatonic scale, try some of your own melodies. Start with quarter notes and half notes, and then extend from there. And once you feel confident, you can use other note values and try different melody lengths, 1 bar, 2 bar, 4 bars, even 12 bars. Keep your foot tapping. Now, I just wondered if there's anybody, I know Sue's being wonderful, but is anybody else who'd like to just try a little bit of C minor pentatonic scale based on the feel of what we've been doing? Anybody prepared to have a little go?
Sorry, what's that?
Anybody prepared to have a little go at a minor pentatonic scale, melody rather?
Yeah, anyone feel free to raise your hand, or we still have Kim and Sue who mics can be unmuted there.
Otherwise, Kim, you're still unmuted, is that right?
I'm unmuted now.
Yeah. How would you feel if I said to you, can you try something using the C minor pentatonic scale using your own melody? Starting
Sure.
with,
Left hand as well, or just the right hand?
just the right hand.
Okay.
Good. Now you're the same as me. It started to cut out halfway through, but that was a very promising opening. And I think it works quite well with students if they start with longer notes and then gradually, as they get more confident, start to introduce those other note values. So that's great. So create an idea and answer with a different idea. Now, here's an example where I've got a 2-bar idea, which is a question. And again, Kim, you might like just to play this for me. Can you read that from the music?
Sure.
Good. Now, I went jump, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
Oh, I missed that tide there.
But that is another thing which students do, that they miss the tie, and you say to them, there's another idea. It doesn't have to be the one I wrote down. It's just getting you started. Dum, dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. What you did is a lovely idea. And then, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. And you can hear how singing it really helps, doesn't it? And and it helps you to phrase it as well. So there's a question and answer notion using the C minor pentatonic scale. All the preparation we've done, by the way, is designed to get into the groove of things so that when you start to do ideas, they feel like they've got a context, if you like, the backing track we had and the clapping and tapping ideas we had. And in fact, when I'm thinking about this melody, I'm tapping my foot, dum, dum, doo, dum, dum, and dum, doo, doo. So it works quite naturally to actually do the 1 and 3 on your foot and the 3 on your clapping while you're doing the tune, while you're doing this tune here. And I would suggest that students could do that for each other if they're in a little group as well. Now, use repeated notes and repeat an idea with a varied end. That sounds complicated, but basically it's quite nice to go, I'll play a bit and see if it works. Okay, so there's one which has got repeated note ideas, and then yum da dum 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 dum. So what I've done is repeating an idea with a different ending. So this is not a question and answer. This is a variation, basically. So using variation technique for your little improvisation as well. You can see this is all very common sense stuff. I hope you agree. But it's easy to apply, and they're basic principles which I think you could do with lots of different pieces as well. Now, there we are, using the C minor pentatonic scale and with the track, see how crazy a right-hand improvisation you can do. In other words, students like this, we actually say, go crazy using the C minor pentatonic scale, but with the track. And it's surprising what they sometimes come up with. So that is worth considering as well. Use as much of the keyboard as you like, see what happens. So I just wondered, I'm going to come out and share for a moment. There we go, that's me. Oh, I can see 2 of you as well, which is nice. Is there anybody would like to ask anything about that or any comments to make so far? Because we're coming on to, well, I'm going to do 2 pieces basically, and the other one's very different from that one. So if you want to sort of unmute or reveal yourself, is there anything which you would like to ask or comment on at this point? It
Yeah,
doesn't
again, feel free to raise your hand. Anyone use the raise your hand feature or type into the chat box.
look up the chat box, but you can. I hope you can see that I'm trying to develop these materials to be as easy as possible, but with attractive pieces and with a nice backing track as well. And I think I'll be doing that, as I said, with some of the examination repertoire on my YouTube channel in particular, and also on these seminars. So that I just thought I'd try today with a couple of sort of neutral pieces which don't belong to any examination board at the moment. They're just pieces what I wrote, so to speak. Okay. Well, in that case, I think everything's clear. Shall we go on to piece number 2, Derek?
I think so. Yep. I think
Is that-
everyone's ready.
Oh, pretty straightforward stuff, but nonetheless, oh, here's the trick again. Now, what I want you to do. The other thing that's worth pointing out, by the way, is that this piece has actually got a full version, and this is very interesting how this can work. Now, I'm hoping you might be able to do it, not all of you, but some of you will be able to do this at home today. Here's the original tune of this piece on the left-hand screen, and then it goes into solos. But you notice that the solos have also got left-hand chords with the same positions that we saw earlier. And then it's got which is a variation of that little figure. And then a solo for 2 bars, and then the figure, solo for 2 bars, then the figure. And there are 2 solos altogether. In other words, you play the opening, do 2 solos, and then play the opening again and the coda. So play along as best you can and sing along otherwise. In other words, if you haven't got a piano in front of you, So that's a complete piece, and your handout includes this piece, and also I think the download you've got available to you includes both the track we were working with first and this full piece. You've actually got a little improvisation module based on an entire piece, which is broken up into bits beforehand. So that's cool, dude. Now we go on to a piece called Aftermath, which is very different, and I thought was just a nice contrast as a second piece. It's a slow ballad style piece in D minor. And when you improvise, you'll only play 2 left-hand chords, D minor and C major. Now, one of my willing participants, Kim, or what was the other name?
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Would you like to, Suzanne, perhaps play me a chord of D minor and a chord of C major? The chord?
The whole chord?
In other words, you've done the chord without the thirds. Did you know?
Right.
You know that was coming up. Have you got the handout in front of you, in fact?
Yes.
That explains that. because in fact, this is one of the interesting things about this piece is we've got chords with no thirds, but I'm still calling it D minor and C because other parts kind of spell out the chord. Now, it's playing each chord with your left hand, which you've done, and I've said the chords sound bare because there's only a key note and a fifth, but that's fine. But here's the track for this now. Now, this is a very different feel, and what I like about all these things is each track has its own world to work with. Here's the aftermath track. After 8 beats comes on like this. Now, your downloads, by the way, do include that the short track. So you've got just this D minor chord and the C chord. And I think you'll agree, I hope you agree, that when you play those bare sounding chords with that, it sounds really nice. To have all the other sounds around it, but having just the bareness of the D and A and the C and G. So that's the track. And then play the left hand. And here's a suggested rhythm pattern. I've said with this rhythm. You can just think about this. So again, if you've got a piano, you just play it on your leg. Okay, so that's just a little sort of practice track, if you like. And then going on to the next page. Now here's where we're tapping in rhythm with that foot. And again, as many of you as can try this with the track playing. Here it comes. So ready to tap the foot. But it's a good little exercise again, and students can be taught that just by ear and learn to play. And you're getting into that groove again. Now, what you can do then is, this is even more exciting, where you clap on the third beat of the bar. Just try to see how you feel about this. So all of these exercises are designed to get the student into the groove of this particular song. Whose piano is that? Is that Marilyn?
Yeah, I like to play along, but I don't know if you want to hear it all the time. So I'll just goof around, and if you want to hear it,
Marilyn, if you stay
please turn me off though. It's going to annoy people.
Hoping here, because in fact my piano comes and goes a bit on Zoom. So, but let's go to the next page then. Rhythm patterns, and here's one where you're actually trying to play a rhythm pattern in your right hand, which is rather different. So foot. Now this is getting more like a drum pattern, as you can tell. And when you get to the last bar of this, it takes a bit of getting your head around, but I've done this with students, and they do enjoy kind of getting to grips with that and getting the pattern. And then what you can do is start to incorporate some notes. Now, Marilyn, this is where you might be able to help me. You might be able to play the bottom.
Sure, I'll give it a try. I'll go a little slower though, probably. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a bit. I missed it.
I'm used to that, but it's a lovely effect if you can get it.
Oh, so I should do that last bar. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3.
So it's creating a little melody using that little rhythm pattern and D, E, and F only. So it's, again, one of the principles of improvisation, which I like, is the idea of restricting the number of notes you use, and gradually adding to them. So here, what have we got next? Here's the second pattern now. So foot, 2, 4, foot, foot, foot. Now that again, bit of a concept when you get to the last. So, but what I'm going to do now is go straight to the use of more notes. So we're adding 2 other notes, which is C and G. And I'll play this, see if it works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you're improving so quickly.
Yeah.
I think one of the things for everybody is the idea that when you're doing improvisation, the left hand has these chords, but there can be an interplay between the hands, and jazz players do this beautifully. But you're getting used to the idea that you have the chords in your left hand, but you're not just playing block chords, but you're actually playing rhythms in your right hand, which your left hand reacts to, which is what is the case here. Let's go on to pattern 3 now. Here's another one. Let's have a look at that. And again, I'm excited by the potential of Marilyn, who's my new student. Do you think you could clap and tap this one?
Just tap this one? Sure. Can you hear my foot? I like my foot going. 1. Well, I'll try. I'm better with hand and foot, but we'll try. This is the left hand here.
And up the right.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Woo. Okay, I'll do it slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4.
Good. Now, these seem quite complex, but in fact, I've done them with students and a group. They do quite enjoy it. You just take it a step at a time. Here is where we add a new note. We've actually got it. Marilyn, again, you might like to just give us a little demonstration of this.
Sure. Huh. Okay, we'll see what happens here.
You've actually
still sticky. Close.
Good. This is a sequence. Sequence is yada, 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 yada. It's kind of starting to create something where you're taking the whole idea down a step, which is an important thing.
I shouldn't have swung it.
Now, the right hand use we've used so far are the first 5 notes of a D minor scale as well as the C below. Now, effectively, this is there's actually a D minor scale with a C in it. So it's kind of D Dorian, or it's even a D minor pentatonic, but you've actually got an E as well. It's a kind of hybrid, but it's a minor scale of the sort. And in fact, I think I'm right in saying that when you get to improvisation on this, that a B natural would work, which would make it a completely Dorian scale, which would be D, E, F, G, A, B.
Oh. Yeah.
Now, what I'm suggesting, starting on, you create your own melodies which can be repeated down a step. You create your own sequences. There's one there which I've just done for you. So it's actually just repeating an idea down a step. Now, I've discovered when students try to do things on an improvisation group, I say to them, can you make something up? They often find it quite difficult to repeat their own idea because they're not used to the idea of being aware of the fact that they've come up with a little idea. And most ideas are good, which they come up with, the first one. So I'm always saying to them, see if you can memorize your idea and then see if you can put it down a step. Use a variety of note lengths. Here's an example, very simple one. So just thinking about the fact that you can take those few notes, that's C, D, E, F, G, A, and actually create various melodies with it before you go back to the track. Play an idea and change one or more notes. Now, this is an interesting one. If you just play us this from the music, you'll see that it sounds lovely when you alter one note on the repeat.
Okay.
That's it. Very simple. And you also are sketching in those open chords underneath, which is lovely. And I hopefully that some students would do that. They'd see the chord symbols and start to just dot the chords in as well, like you did. Using the track to a free improvisation. Now, here we go. So don't worry too much about timing, just create atmosphere. Free improvisation using notes. Now that's quite nice. You can tell you can do quite fast things against that, just doing free-form things using the notes. So it's a different thing from trying to play strictly in time at this point. It's actually doing it like a free improvisation in which you're creating an atmosphere. Now, then when you feel ready, improvise one sort of without the track, then with the track. And you may find yourself using different left rhythms during the solo as well, I point out. Here's the original piece now. And you can see this has got a lovely little tune. And that's played. And then the solos are just using those two chords on the right-hand page. This is in your handout, so you can just have a little play with this with the track. And so you've got a full piece which you can play from the music. And then just try free things with the chords on the right. So here's what the full track sounds like. I won't play the whole thing, you get the idea. So on. Yeah, now that you've got the track for that and you've got the music for it as well. So that is a real fun thing to do. And Derek, you'll be pleased to hear that is in fact all I've got to say at the moment as well. I just thought it was fun to try two different things out using two completely contrasting tracks. So I think it might be a nice opportunity now for people to sort of open up their video and audio if they want to somewhat, and we can just sort of chat about this before we finish today.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so everyone, thanks first of all to Marilyn and Suzanne and Kim for participating here with their mics on. You can keep your mics unmuted. If anyone else wants to talk, just use the raise your hand feature and we can have a more informal discussion with some questions, or feel free to type any questions you might have about this process into the chat box. Be nice to
I have an idea.
Yeah, go ahead, Marilyn.
Why doesn't Conservatory Canada have a flash mob kind of thing in a more time when kids aren't in school, and every kid could put their headphones on and kind of play along and just see how many people would play, like the same thing, same thing, just show for open like I have 3 keyboards. The kids play with their headphones on sometimes, so we don't hear each other and mess each other up, but they're also more free, and then they'll unplug. So just an idea.
Yeah. Because I mean that's kind of what I do when I do improvisation session with kids. We have a whole group of them, and everybody gets a go, but they also some of the time all play together like a gospel band, you know, when nobody knows what you're doing. But they enjoy that as well. But I liked it today. I thought it might work this way because of the downsides to Zoom, but also the idea that we're doing a live session where some people are kind of playing along a bit somewhat on screen. So you're right. I think it'd be lovely to do something with kids doing the same kind of thing, as many as possible. And
Yeah, we'll see if we can organize it sometime.
You have 2 chords. You know, in fact, there are some great improvisations available where you only use 1 chord. And funny enough, just while you're on, everybody, I'm just going to do one more thing here. Anyway, anybody else like to comment or got questions while we're here? Marianne. Am I right?
No, I don't see a comment there.
Oh, just a hand went up.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, Marianne, you can take yourself off mute now if you want.
Okay, hello. I have a little group coming over of 4 students, and I'm just wondering, with 1 piano, do you have any little, like, super easy, fun, improvising ideas that I could just do on the spot with them?
Did any of these strike a chord as being possible?
Yeah, or even something even easier, maybe, like without any printouts or
I mean, one of the things I've found that's quite useful is to have a little track available, which you've got there with these. And the second one in particular, well, even the first one is easy to teach the 3 chords. You can even have 3 students playing a chord each, so they actually change the chords, you know, appropriately. So that's one thing you can do. But the other thing is the other one only has 2 chords, so therefore you can actually get one student to play the chords and another student to play the right hand, and just try something with pairs.
okay.
It makes some sense.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
There's just something I was looking for here, just while we're here as well. The idea of doing something which actually has 1 chord. I'm just doing a quick search here. Here we go. Philadelphia. The Philadelphia experiment. Yeah. Now I think I'll have to share my sound for this again. Might be a second. Zoom. Share screen. Yeah. Can you see that?
Yep, that's clear.
Here it is. I see if it plays. Bad example, when they get going. There's various things which I'm aware of that in fact, in popular music, where you can actually have 1 chord for an improvisation. That Philadelphia experiment, what I like about them, they're just grooves. They have a particular kind of feel, which are really fun to play with. And one thing I would stress, certainly in connections, is that nearly everything has a groove. And so what I've been doing today is getting used to the idea not just of improvising, but of improvising within a context, which is creating a particular kind of groove and feel. And so my aim, I think, is to try and come up with simple materials. I haven't quite got around to starting it yet, but which each one is a particular groove, but also covering a particular kind of technique. And today we did something which is in a shuffle groove. That first one, Cool Dude, and the other one, as I said, is like a pop ballad stroke folk kind of style with that D minor to C is very much a folk kind of chord progression. But when you improvise, one of them was using the minor pentatonic scale, and the other one was using the Dorian mode. So you're teaching a little bit about the notes which might be appropriate to use as well, and then getting used to it of your foot and your hand playing a role, that you have the track playing and you're actually you actually get used to the idea of keeping a steady beat and feeling the groove before you start to improvise. And Marilyn, interestingly, said that learning those first three chords in close position is a game changer. It is, because in fact, that's what a lot of jazz players do. They find a way of moving as little as between chords. It's not easy. And so Etudes Book 1, which one is this you're talking about, Marilyn?
Okay, is my mic on?
Yeah.
It's the one that when you join E flat club, or even if you don't, all the tracks for contemporary there's level 1 to 6, I think.
American popular piano.
Yeah, those are written by you, right, Chris?
Yeah, and that's a very nice step-by-step thing without any chord symbols, actually.
Yeah, and the thing is, you should be remunerated for doing this work. So I'm thinking, why are we not buying your book? And then, once in a while, like I've done this with Kim Climb, and it's just fabulous, but I'm really pretty rusty. I could go through book 1 for 2 years and I'd still be learning stuff. But in combination with those scale books that show the blues scales and the Dorian scales and Mixolydian scales, after about 5 years, it's coming together. So,
Yeah.
but I still have a trouble transmitting this to my students. And so, yeah, I almost think, oh, I should just put the YouTube on, and I have my acoustic piano and my synthesizer and another one, another smaller keyboard with headphones. And we could just go through this with the YouTube on every week for our years. But yeah, it's great.
I want to kind of do that. I think what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, having started on the micro lessons, 3 more new ones from Conservatory have gone up, by the way, in the last week or so, on the micro lessons. But on the improvisation front, I think there's scope to do, a couple of hundred of them, which are all short, but actually cover one specific thing per module, if you like, which are designed to be played along with as well. So I'm working on next. Now, I thought it was fun today to just try 2 pieces which you've never come across before, because they're not on any of the syllabuses in here. They were written for an Australian syllabus, and they've had great success with it. But they were asking for things which were slightly more mainstream jazz styles, if you like, which is what these 2 pieces are. But thank you for your comments. That's lovely.
So I think, folks, we're at the top of the hour. Those of you that are here in the Zoom room with us live, you can hang on if you like, but I'm just going to stop the YouTube share. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, thanks for joining us today. And like I said, be on the lookout in your inbox in a couple of weeks' time. I promise one more webinar with myself talking about our forthcoming piano publications. You'll be able to find the handout in the YouTube description for this video on the CCTV YouTube channel. And so thanks everyone for joining us. Those of you on Zoom, you can hang on here and we'll continue to talk with Chris for a little bit.
And by the way, Derek, I got a notification from what's his name, Andrew Harvage.
Yep.
About 4 of my pieces which are on the new Conservatory Canada syllabus.
That's right. Yeah, and there'll be more coming.
And what I'm saying is they'd be perfect ones to do in a way to do these improvisation modules.
Yeah.
Anything you do. In other words, any piece you learn can be the basis of an improvisation session.
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered, because everything I've done has got backing tracks as well, which means it's opening itself up in a different direction stylistically, than just playing from the piano part.
Right.
So I'm quite excited with the sort of notion of all this.
Yeah.